Welcome to Mystic Bedtime Stories, a quiet corner where we slow down together, wander through ancient places, and drift gently into sleep with stories from the past. Each night, we invite you to join us, not to learn facts, but to feel time breathe again, to imagine the lives, dreams, and mysteries left behind in forgotten stones. So tonight, let me take you on a journey through time, a gentle voyage with no luggage, no maps. Just close your eyes, relax, and let your imagination guide the way.
Dear friend, before the day folds into night, let me take you on a gentle journey. No need for luggage, no map required. Just close your eyes, breathe in slowly, and allow your imagination to wander. Have you ever wondered, how did our ancestors, with no machines, no electricity, no modern tools, manage to create wonders so immense, so refined that even today we gaze upon them in awe? There are places on Earth where time seems to stand still, places where stone seems to speak, where silence holds the weight of forgotten stories. And one of those places is Angkor Wat. Tucked deep in the emerald heart of the Cambodian jungle, Angkor Wat rises like a dream carved in stone. It's the largest temple complex in the world, breathtaking in its beauty, overwhelming in its scale. But it's not just the size that captures your breath, it's the details. Every stone is etched with delicate carvings, mythological beings, celestial dancers, and gods who seem to gaze out with timeless wisdom. It's as though the hands that built this place had not only skill, but a sacred vision, a connection to something far greater than themselves. Some say the stones whisper. Others believe the gods themselves once touched these walls. But what makes Angkor Wat even more mysterious is that it may be more than just a temple. Some scholars and seekers propose that Angkor Wat is also a giant observatory, a structure aligned not just to the world, but to the stars.
The temple faces west, the direction of the setting sun. Its towers and corridors may align with celestial events, tracking the sun, the moon, and perhaps even the planets. Could it be a cosmic calendar? A silent machine that measures the rhythm of the heavens? Is it a temple or a map of the universe? A sacred monument or an ancient scientific device disguised in devotion? No one knows for sure. And perhaps that's what draws us in, the not knowing. The sense that beneath the surface of what we see lies something waiting to be understood. Tonight, we'll walk slowly through that mystery, not to solve it, but to feel it, to let the questions settle like dust on old stone, to breathe in the calm and listen to what ancient silence might still have to say. So now, let go of your day, let go of noise,
Let go of answers. Let your spirit wander the hallways of this lost kingdom, where the stars may still speak and where dreams begin.
Now imagine. You are standing at the edge of something ancient, not just old in years, but heavy with memory. Before you rises a structure that defies explanation, not built merely with tools, but with belief, with vision, with a kind of sacred mathematics known only to the hearts of its makers. This is Angkor Wat, the spiritual heart of the ancient Khmer Empire. In the 12th century, under the rule of King Suryavarman II, this vast and breathtaking complex was brought to life. It was built not just as a monument, but as a final resting place, a temple of transition from mortal to divine. Dedicated to Vishnu, the Hindu god of preservation, protector of the universe.
Angkor Wat stretches across more than 400 acres. That's about 160 hectares of carved stone, harmony, and intention. Every line, every curve, every relief on the wall seems to have purpose. This was not a structure thrown together. It was orchestrated. Symphony in sandstone. The 5 central towers rise into the sky, reaching like fingers toward the heavens. They represent Mount Meru, the mythical home of the gods in Hindu cosmology. Around them flows a vast moat, not just for defense, but symbolizing the cosmic ocean that surrounds the known world. The temple, in its full design, is a map of the cosmos and the soul's journey through it. A bridge nearly 200 meters long brings pilgrims across the waters. 3 long galleries draw them inward, from the outer world to sacred space, to the heart. It's not just an architectural design. It's a spiritual metaphor. Each step toward the inner sanctum brings one closer to the divine and deeper into the self. On the stone walls, thousands of bas-reliefs tell stories older than memory, epic tales from the Ramayana, from the Mahabharata, gods in battle, demons in exile, dancers twirling in eternal motion, frozen mid-movement, and yet alive in the stillness. But Angkor Wat was never just about worship. It was a message, a declaration of power, an embodiment of divine kingship, where the king was more than a ruler. He was the axis between heaven and earth, a bridge between human and God. And so the temple stood, not only as a religious sanctuary, but as a center of knowledge, of politics, of philosophy, a place where art met astronomy, where faith shaped stone. It took over 3 decades to build. Thousands of workers, artisans, laborers, monks, all lent their hands and spirits to the project. Their legacy is not written in books. It is carved into every stone that still stands. And it stands tall, so revered, so monumental, that it now appears on the Cambodian flag itself, a modern symbol of an ancient soul. But time is always moving, and even the brightest sun must set. The Khmer Empire began to wane. Forests crept in, rivers shifted, the crowds disappeared, and Angkor Wat, once the beating heart of an empire, began its long sleep. The halls grew silent, the statues weathered, birdsong replaced chanting, and yet something remained. A presence, a pulse, a breath held in stone. The world moved on. Wars raged, borders changed, languages rose and fell. But here, deep in the jungle, this sacred city waited. And then, one day, a quiet traveler appeared, unaware that he was about to awaken a legend. It was a late summer afternoon in the year 1860. The air in Cambodia was thick with the scent of warm earth and slow-moving streams. Cicadas sang in the trees, and the jungle breathed in long, drowsy rhythms. Everything felt timeless, as if the forest itself had forgotten the world beyond. And into this ancient stillness walked a quiet figure, Henri Mouhot, a French naturalist, dressed in linen worn by long travel, boots caked in red clay, and a leather-bound journal tucked beneath his arm. He hadn't come for temples. He wasn't looking for ruins, nor chasing legend. He had come for orchids and butterflies and the gentle, untamed beauty of the tropics. His heart was filled not with ambition, but with wonder. But wonder often finds more than it seeks. As he moved deeper into the jungle, he began to notice something strange. Shapes that didn't belong to trees. Lines too straight. Stone too old. At first, it was only fragments. A broken sculpture wrapped in roots. A staircase overgrown with moss. A silent face half buried in the ground. But then, as the vines parted, he saw it. A temple. Or what seemed like a city of temples. Towers and archways, courtyards and corridors, all tangled in the arms of the forest. Trees growing out of rooftops, roots winding around doorways. Nature and stone, not in battle, but in delicate embrace. Henri Mouhot stood in awe. No map had warned him of this. No book had prepared him. He wasn't an archaeologist, but something in his soul recognized what he was seeing. In the days that followed, he made camp beside the ruins. By candlelight, he sketched the towers. He traced the bas-reliefs with his fingers and copied them into his journal. He took careful notes, not as a scholar chasing fame, but as a man humbled by something far greater than himself. He wrote of walls covered in divine stories, of stairways leading to nowhere, or perhaps to the sky. He wrote of serenity, the quiet majesty of a place abandoned but not forgotten. And he vowed to share it with the world. But fate had a different story. On one of his journeys deeper into the forest, Muhat vanished. Days passed, then weeks. Search parties were sent, but the jungle gave nothing back. Nearly a year later, they found his body, still, peaceful, his death attributed to a venomous insect bite. And beside him, untouched by the rain, was his journal, the sketches, the notes, the wonder. They had survived. And when they were brought back to Europe, they stirred something ancient in the hearts of those who read them. Whispers spread. Scholars leaned closer. Artists painted the ruins. Explorers booked passage east. Angkor Wat, once a sleeping monument, began to breathe again in the minds of the modern world. Henry Muho became more than a scientist. He became a bridge between centuries, the quiet man who wandered into the jungle and accidentally awakened a legend. But what he saw, what he felt in those long evenings under temple shadows, was only the beginning of the mystery, because hidden in those stones was something older, stranger, and not entirely of this world. Imagine yourself lying on your back in the grass just beyond the temple walls. The air is cool now. The stars begin to peek through the thinning clouds. And high above you, something stirs. A question, perhaps, or a memory long forgotten. You look up. The towers of Angkor Wat rise like silhouettes against the night sky. But tonight, you see them differently. Not as stones, but as symbols. What if this temple was more than a monument? What if it was a mirror? That's what some researchers began to wonder when they noticed the curious layout of Angkor Wat. From the ground, the temple is majestic, but from above, it's something else entirely. A pattern, precise, deliberate, like a constellation carved in stone. As technology advanced, archaeologists took to the skies. Drones flew over the temple grounds. Satellites traced every corner, every corridor, every shift in the earth. And what they found was astonishing. The central towers of Angkor Wat align not just with each other, but with stars. Specifically, with the Draco constellation, the celestial dragon of the northern sky. The stars of Draco spiral like a serpent around the North Pole, and so too do the towers seem to spiral through the temple's heart. Even more strangely, each major sanctuary of Angkor corresponds with a major star in Draco, and it's not just a coincidence of shape. Mathematicians analyzed the distances, and they match almost perfectly. Could it be possible that this entire complex was designed to reflect the heavens? Could the ancient Khmer builders have known this sky map, not from telescopes, but from memory? Or from stories passed down across generations? Some astronomers proposed a jaw-dropping possibility that over 12,000 years ago, Draco would have appeared directly above the region where Angkor now sits. Not just in the sky, but centered, glowing, dominating the heavens. And in that same moment in time, far across the world, the constellation Leo, the lion, would have sat precisely on the horizon of Egypt, right where the Great Sphinx gazes. Two monuments, two civilizations, two skies, aligned across continents. Coincidence or coordination? Some began to whisper of a lost astronomical knowledge, a science older than history itself, a way of seeing the stars not as distant or divine, but as blueprints, instructions, maps. Because you see, Angkor Wat doesn't just point west toward the setting sun. It aligns with solstices and equinoxes, with moon phases, and even planetary cycles. Some theorists went further. They spoke of a time when humanity understood the earth and sky as one great machine, and temples like Angkor were the gears that kept balance. Structures, not just for worship, but for harmony. Guides for planting, building, living. Still others went deeper into mystery. They asked, why Draco? In ancient myths, the dragon guarded sacred knowledge. It coiled around treasure. It watched from the stars. Perhaps Draco is not a monster, but a memory, a symbol of cycles, of time winding back upon itself. And perhaps Angkor Wat was never meant to be a place to worship from below, but a signal sent upward, a message in stone, written in the shape of stars. And as you lie there, beneath the night sky, listening to the wind whisper through temple corridors, you might start to feel it too. The soft pull of something ancient, a pattern too large to grasp, a rhythm beneath your thoughts, a map in the sky that somehow includes you. Now imagine the weight of a stone, a single block, solid, dense, unmoving. Now multiply that by hundreds, thousands. Feel the scale of it. This is Angkor Wat, a temple not built of words or whispers, but of millions of hand-carved stones. Some weigh more than 10 tons. Others stretch longer than the length of a man. And yet, they sit, one atop another, with no mortar, no glue, just gravity and perfect alignment. You may think, surely this was done with machines, cranes, pulleys, engineering. But no, these stones were moved, shaped, long before such inventions existed. And not just moved, but polished, smoothed to a gleaming finish. Each block chiseled and refined with such care that even after centuries of wind and rain, their edges remain sharp, their carvings still alive.
Imagine a single artisan. He sits in the shade of a jungle tree. In his hands, a hammer and a chisel. Before him, a block of sandstone taller than he is. It will take him hours, days, weeks to carve just one piece. Now multiply that by the temple's expanse, more than 160 hectares, walls, towers, causeways, moats. How many lifetimes were spent in devotion to this creation? Some say over 30 years of labor, with thousands of craftsmen, architects, monks, and workers. But even so, it boggles the mind. And there's something even stranger. Angkor Wat wasn't built on solid ground. It rises from a swamp, a low, marshy floodplain where modern buildings would need deep foundations, steel reinforcements, concrete pilings. And yet, Angkor stands. Without any known foundation, without sinking, without shifting, for nearly 1,000 years. It is as if the earth itself decided to cradle it gently, as if the structure belonged there from the beginning.
How did the ancient Khmer manage this? Did they understand something we've forgotten? Some say they had knowledge of soil density, water pressure, and equilibrium, passed down through oral teachings now lost. Others believe something more mysterious, that they inherited wisdom not from their own time, but from an older world. A civilization that left no books, but left behind stone. Some even say that Angkor Wat, like the pyramids, like Machu Picchu, is a remnant of a forgotten global legacy. Not built just by muscle, but by memory, by tapping into patterns of the earth, the stars, the human spirit. But we have no manuals, no blueprints, only silence. And that silence echoes through every chamber of the temple. Step inside one of those dark corridors, where light filters down in narrow beams. Run your hand along the cool surface of a carved wall.
and you may hear it. A soundless voice, not speaking words, but wonder. Not explaining, but inviting. And maybe in that stillness, you'll understand why Angkor Wat endures. Not because it defies explanation, but because it awakens awe. Awe that transcends time. Awe that makes the heart still. Awe that whispers to you, there is more to this world than what we know. So rest here, traveler. Beneath the weight of impossible stones, feel your thoughts soften. Feel your body grow lighter. The temple does not ask for understanding. It only asks that you listen.
Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts settle like morning mist over the stones of Angkor Wat. Because now, we enter a space not just of temples and carvings, but of questions, of wonder, of disagreement, of deep curiosity. You see, Angkor Wat does not just inspire admiration, it sparks debate. It divides the minds of historians, scientists, spiritual seekers, and dreamers alike. Some visitors stand beneath its towers, eyes wide, and say, "This cannot be man-made. It's too perfect, too precise. It must be the work of something greater." Others shake their heads gently and reply, "No, you are forgetting the Khmer people. You are forgetting centuries of craftsmanship, devotion, and inherited knowledge."
And so the conversation continues, not with anger, but with reverence. Because Angkor Wat is more than stone, it's a mirror. It reflects what we choose to see, mystery or mastery, miracle or memory. There are those who point to the sky, to the stars aligned with the temple's corridors, to the symbolic geometry hidden in every measurement, to the idea that it was a calendar, a cosmic instrument, a celestial map. And perhaps it was. But others look inward, to the culture itself, to the Khmer Empire, whose engineers mastered irrigation systems that still baffle modern scientists, to sculptors whose hands turned stone into stories, to monks whose chants once echoed through these halls. They say, give credit where it is due. The miracle is not from the heavens, but from the hands of human beings who believed, who endured, who imagined something that would outlast even their names. And both views are beautiful. Because whether Angkor Wat was built with divine help or human heart, it still stands. It still speaks. And what it says is this: that creation, real creation, comes from a union of vision and devotion. It requires patience, repetition, sacrifice. It requires faith, not only in gods,
but in the possibility of something greater than oneself. And maybe that is the true lesson of Angkor Wat. Not the mystery of its origin, but the mystery of its endurance. Because long after empires fall, and languages fade, and borders shift, this temple remains, still watching, still waiting, still whispering. And so, dear listener, you must ask yourself, what do you see when you look at Angkor Wat? Do you see a riddle waiting to be solved? Or a poem meant to be felt? There is no wrong answer, only the quiet, only the invitation. So let yourself rest with the questions. Let them settle into your chest like stones placed with care. Because the deeper truth of Angkor Wat may not be something to prove. It may be something to feel. A pulse, a presence, a remembrance of what humans once did and what they may yet do again. Sleep now with that possibility. Let the debate continue beyond your dreams.
Now we return to the hush of the forest, to the hush of the temple, to the hush inside your own breath. The journey has taken us through legends, through debates, through distant stars and ancient hands. And now we arrive at a place beyond understanding, a place of feeling. Angkor Wat, in the stillness of night, becomes something more than stone, more than temple, more than symbol. It becomes memory, not just of history, but of something deeper. Do you hear it? That soft echo. It's not a sound exactly. It's the feeling of footsteps that once were, of voices that once sang here, prayed here, wept here, of ancestors who dreamed beneath these very towers. They are gone, but their presence is woven into every grain of sandstone. Each carving, each corridor is a message, written not in words, but in devotion. And if you stand still long enough, you might feel that message stir within you. It's a strange thing, isn't it? To walk through a place where time has paused, where the past isn't behind you, but all around you, breathing, watching, waiting. You begin to wonder, could these halls be holding memories, not just of people, but of the earth itself? Could the stones remember the heat of the sun from 800 years ago? The echo of a king's footsteps? The weight of incense and chanting on humid air?
Could we, by walking slowly, by listening carefully, reconnect with all of it? Perhaps that is the real magic. Not in understanding everything, but in being open to the wonder of not knowing, to feeling awe, to feeling small in the best possible way. Because in that smallness, we sense how large the story is, how long the thread runs, how many hands have touched it before ours, and how lucky we are to have this one quiet moment to listen. So, tonight, as you lie there, eyes closed, heart open, imagine yourself walking again through the temple, barefoot, calm, silent, your fingers brushing the carvings, your breath syncing with the rhythm of the wind. And then, a whisper. Not in your ear, but somewhere deeper. A feeling. As if the stone itself is saying, "You were here before. You are part of this. You have always been." Let that thought cradle you. Let it carry you into sleep. Because in the dreams that follow, you may not just visit Angkor Wat. You may remember it.
Let that thought cradle you. Let it carry you into sleep. Because in the dreams that follow, you may not just visit Angkor Wat, you may remember it. Close your eyes, dear traveler, and imagine the sky, not as you see it now, filled with city lights and distant plains, but as it once was, clear, endless, sacred. Thousands of years ago, the stars were the oldest stories. They marked the seasons. They guided migrations. They told of gods, of monsters, of time itself. Now return with me to Angkor Wat, not the stone under your feet, but the sky above your head. What if I told you the temple was a map written not on paper, but in stone and shadow, one that mirrors the constellations above? Scholars and sky watchers alike have traced the outlines, measured the angles, stood at the heart of the temple and looked upward. And what they found is hard to ignore. The towers, aligned. The central sanctuary, positioned with precision. The walkways, not just roads, but sight lines to the sun and stars. And above all, the resemblance to a dragon in the sky, the Draco constellation, a winding celestial serpent, its stars mirrored by the layout of Angkor Wat below. Coincidence or intention? Some say, no way this could be accidental, that the alignment is too perfect, the symbolism too strong. Others remain cautious. They ask for more proof, for written plans, for ancient star charts. But imagine a world where builders weren't just architects, but astronomers, storytellers, keepers of celestial secrets passed down through generations. A world where temples weren't just to honor the gods, but to understand the cosmos. Where light and shadow, sunrises and solstices,
or part of a giant clock, where walking through the temple was like walking through time. And maybe, just maybe, the sky and the stone were not separate things. They were reflections, one above, one below, like twin mirrors, whispering to each other. When you walk the halls of Angkor Wat, you may think you are looking around, but perhaps you are really looking up at ancient stars, etched not in firelight, but in sandstone. So tonight, before sleep carries you far away, look up, even with your eyes closed. Picture the dragon in the sky, its long, winding body curling across the heavens. And beneath it, another dragon, made of stone, made of stories, made for dreamers like you. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften and drift gently between heaven and earth, between what we know and what we still wonder. The stars have waited long enough. It's your turn to listen.
Now, take another breath, slow and soft. Let the night cradle you. Let the past draw closer. Imagine standing at the edge of the great temple complex, your hand brushing against a wall that stood for nearly 1,000 years, and yet it feels older, much older. The stone is cold, smooth, as if time has tried to erode it and failed. You look up, and the towers rise like frozen flames, silent but powerful. And you begin to wonder, how? How did they build this? Not just the beauty of it, but the weight, the physics. Tons upon tons of stone, carved with mathematical precision, transported from quarries miles away, stacked with such balance that not even a blade of grass fits between the joints. No mortar, no modern cranes, no concrete foundations, and yet it endures. Rain has fallen, earthquakes have stirred, jungle roots have crept across its bones. But Angkor Wat still stands. And then you remember something. It was built on a swamp, a marshland, soft earth, unstable ground. And still, it does not sink. No cracks, no tilts. Just balance, harmony. Some say the Khmer people had forgotten techniques we have yet to rediscover. A mastery of water flow, pressure distribution, and resonance. Knowledge not recorded but remembered in craft. Whispers of tools that left no trace. Methods that vanished before they could be studied. Maybe they read the stars. Maybe they read the land. Maybe they knew something about materials, sound, or stone that we do not. And maybe, just maybe, what they built was not just for the eye, but for the earth itself. Aligned not only with the heavens, but with invisible forces that once coursed beneath the soil. Ley lines, vibrations, sacred energies we no longer understand. Some believe this wasn't just a temple, it was a living machine, a device for harmony, a place where body, spirit, and space became one. A technology of consciousness, not of wires and steel, but of silence and intention. It doesn't blink or hum or buzz, but when you sit quietly within it, you feel something move inside you. Something shifts, as if the stones themselves are still speaking, not with words, but with presence. Not to teach you something new, but to help you remember something ancient, a knowing that has no name. So tonight, as you lie in the hush of sleep, let your dreams descend into those hidden chambers. Walk the dark corridors. Place your hand against the warm stone. And if you feel something stir in your chest, a tingling, a warmth, a sudden sense of familiarity, then perhaps you've just brushed against a forgotten technology, not built to impress, but to awaken.
Now imagine you are standing not just before a temple, but before a riddle made of stone. Angkor Wat doesn't just rise from the ground, it guards something beneath it, within it, and beyond it. There are stories, whispered, undocumented, passed down through generations of monks and villagers. Stories of sealed chambers, of underground passageways long forgotten, of tablets with writing no one can translate, and of alignments that only reveal their meaning once every 1,000 years. Some explorers claim to have seen walls that resonate, as if humming a frequency that can't be heard, only felt. Others speak of light that filters through certain hallways only at precise times of the year, casting shadows that point not to a room, but to a date long past, or still to come. Could it be that Angkor Wat was more than a temple, more than an observatory? Could it have been a library, a vault of wisdom, not written in books, but encoded in stone, waiting only for those who knew how to read it? In recent decades, remote sensing technologies have revealed new structures buried beneath the forest floor, around the Angkor region. Some say this is just evidence of urban expansion. Others believe they are part of a far more complex system, a blueprint that covers not just space, but time. What if Angkor Wat is not the center, but only one point in a larger pattern? What if it was built to remember something, or to warn? When you walk through the quiet corridors and feel the stillness, when you run your fingers along the carvings, do you feel that gentle pulse? That's not just history, that's memory. The kind of memory the earth keeps when no one else is watching. And in the stillness of your own heart, maybe you too can feel it stirring.
Imagine now, you are walking through Angkor Wat alone, in the twilight hours just before dawn. The mist clings to the stone like a memory that refuses to fade. The towers rise above you, silent guardians of a story long untold. But whose story? Who were the builders? Not just in name, but in soul.
Not the kings whose names were carved into history, but the hands that laid stone upon stone, the eyes that measured the stars, the hearts that believed enough to dream a structure this vast into existence. Historians tell us they were craftsmen, monks, architects, laborers. But there's something more, something unspoken in every groove of the sandstone. They were storytellers, not with ink or brush, but with hammer and chisel. Each carving is a sentence, each pillar a pause, each archway a question. There's rhythm here, the rhythm of belief, of time, of breath. And you might begin to wonder, did they know that one day, centuries later, someone like you would stand here in awe? Did they imagine the future? Did they whisper messages into the walls, hoping time would not erase them, only soften them, like wind shapes a mountain? Even now, researchers discover new inscriptions hidden in corners no one looked before. Tiny etchings, symbols, fragments of a language that seems both familiar and lost. Some say these are just markings, but others say they are echoes. Echoes of a people who saw the world differently, who felt the earth as alive, who listened to the stars and built to their song. And maybe, in this quiet moment, as you lie still with your breath slow and your mind open, you can hear it too. The song, the heartbeat of Angkor, and the voices of those who never saw themselves as builders of wonders, but simply as part of something greater, something eternal. There's rhythm here, the rhythm of belief, of time, of breath. And you might begin to wonder, did they know that one day, centuries later, someone like you would stand here in awe? Did they imagine the future? Did they whisper messages into the walls, hoping time would not erase them, only soften them, like wind shapes a mountain? Even now, researchers discover new inscriptions hidden in corners no one looked before. Tiny etchings, symbols, fragments of a language that seems both familiar and lost. Some say these are just markings, but others say they are echoes. Echoes of a people who saw the world differently, who felt the earth as alive, who listened to the stars and built to their song. And maybe, in this quiet moment, as you lie still with your breath slow and your mind open, you can hear it too. The song, the heartbeat of Angkor, and the voices of those who never saw themselves as builders of wonders, but simply as part of something greater, something eternal.
Now, dear listener, let us drift beyond stone and stars into the quiet spaces between breath and memory. Not all wisdom is carved in temples. Not all truths live in books. Some truths live in how we walk, how we pause, how we tend a fire, how we greet the dawn without speaking. The people who built Angkor Wat and civilizations like it knew something. Something we, in all our modern speed and cleverness, may have forgotten. They moved slowly. They listened more than they spoke. They studied patterns, not on paper, but in rivers, seasons, and the way shadows shifted on temple floors. Their world was alive.
Every tree had meaning. Every star had a name. Every moment was part of a larger rhythm, one you entered not by mastering it, but by surrendering to it. They believed in cycles of life, of death, of rain and drought, growth and stillness, and they honored each phase, even the quiet ones, even the endings. Today, we rush, we multitask, we race from one thought to the next. But the ancients, they waited. They built temples over decades. They planted seeds knowing they might never see the harvest. To them, life was not a problem to solve, but a story to participate in. There were no notifications, no algorithms, no endless streams of noise. But there was rhythm, and from rhythm came peace.
They remembered that a day begins not with a screen, but with silence. That a meal is sacred not because it's rare, but because it is shared. That time is not something to chase, but to listen to, like a drumbeat in the heart of the world. They watched the stars not to conquer them, but to feel small beneath them and safe inside them. What did they know, these ancient builders? Perhaps they knew how to live with reverence. They built not for profit, but for presence. They didn't ask, how much can we own? They asked, what is worth becoming? They saw themselves not as separate from the earth, but as a thread woven into its breath. And when grief came, as it always does, they didn't numb it. They sang to it. They carved it into stone. They folded it into myth so that no sorrow was ever wasted. And maybe that's the real secret. Not how they lifted stone, but how they lifted each other. How they remembered that being human was a sacred task, and that joy was found in stillness.
Tonight, as the world spins faster than ever, let us sit in the stillness the ancients once knew. Feel your breath return to rhythm. Let the noise fall away. And in its place, imagine this: a quiet morning by a temple pond, a monk lighting incense in the soft blue light, a child listening to his grandmother tell the same old story again, a story that never stops mattering. This is what they remembered, and perhaps what we are here to remember too.
Now, take a breath. Soft and slow. Let yourself forget what day it is. Let your name, your plans, your modern identity drift like mist across a river. Because tonight, I want to tell you something. Something quiet. Something strange. Something you may already know. You were there. Not in a book. Not in a movie. Not in someone else's story. You were there. When the stones of Angkor Wat were still warm from the hands that shaped them, when the first shadows fell across its walls, when the stars aligned above its towers, and prayers echoed through its halls, you felt it. Perhaps not in this body, perhaps not with these memories, but somewhere deep inside, something recognizes this place. Haven't you felt it? That pull in your chest, that quiet ache when you look at old ruins, that feeling that you've forgotten something important, but you don't know what? That's not imagination. That's remembering. You've walked these halls before, not in history, but in soul. Maybe you were a child here, watching the dancers sway beneath torches at dusk. Maybe you were a stonemason, whispering mantras as you carved a lotus into sandstone. Maybe you were a priest, or a wanderer, or a dreamer who came here just as you are now, seeking something beyond words. And maybe you never really left. Some memories don't fade. They sleep. They wait in the quiet between thoughts, in the stillness between breaths. And then, in places like this, they rise. When you hear temple bells in your dreams, when you feel drawn to languages you've never studied, when the smell of rain on old stone brings tears for no reason at all, it is not nostalgia. It is recognition. There are stories older than time, and you are part of them. And though the world changes, though cities rise and fall, though names are forgotten, the soul remembers. It carries echoes of every lifetime, every silence, every vow made beneath starlight. So as you rest now, as your breath deepens and your body drifts into sleep, let the walls of Angkor rise around you once more. Let the moonlight wash over your hands. Let the temple embrace you like a place you never truly left. And if in your dreams you find yourself walking barefoot across cool stone, if you hear voices speaking a language you don't know but understand, don't be afraid. Just listen. You were there. You are part of this story.
And maybe you always have been.
Dear listener, we have traveled far tonight, through jungle paths and ancient stones, through whispered legends and starlit skies, through questions no history book can fully answer. We stood with the builders. We traced the stars. We listened to the echoes carved into the very bones of Angkor Wat. And now we arrive where all stories rest, not in endings, but in silence. That sacred kind of silence that follows deep understanding. The kind that hums softly through stone corridors at dusk. That rises like mist from the moat. That cradles you gently as you drift into sleep. Because some truths are not spoken, they are felt. Angkor Wat is not just a temple. It's not just a map of the sky. It's not just a marvel of architecture. It is a mirror. A mirror that shows us the wonders we are capable of when we build not just with hands, but with heart, vision, and reverence.
And now, dear friend, as your eyes grow heavy and your breath deepens, let the stones of Angkor Wat fade gently into the dreamscape. Let the stars tuck themselves behind your thoughts. Let the questions remain, not as puzzles, but as companions. You are part of this story now. You carry it with you into sleep and beyond. And when the morning comes, if you remember nothing but a feeling of awe, of peace, of mystery, then Angkor Wat has spoken to you. And I thank you for walking this path with me tonight. Until our next journey together, rest well, dream deep, and never stop wondering. Good night, and see you again in the next bedtime story.